they're having a company or corporate identity crisis. Like they don't know who they are. Some would say it's a branding identity crisis. Okay, I'll go with that.
Right.
But I don't even want to put it in the category of branding. Let's put marketing out of it. Like they just don't know who they are. The business owners don't know this is going on. They can't see that they don't see this mess, right?
Yeah, it's not a mess to them.
They feel it. Yeah. If you asked them if they were organized, they would say yes.
You could have multiple customers, but really, when you do it that way, and I'm looking at it as a marketer, obviously, you have a really difficult time articulating who you are, because you can't say you serve a customer base, and you can't say you serve a phase of the industry when, buying cycle. So what can you say? You're like, we do all these things for all these people. No, you don't. Not well.
It's harder to get the leads and the sales. The sales are harder to pull in because your messaging isn't clear. It isn't effective. Isn't compelling.
Symptoms a marketer would see is there's just a lot of cloudiness and not a lot of clarity in their marketing efforts, and it just never feels like they've nailed it, and therefore their CMO gets replaced and they hire CEO, brings somebody new in to try to fix this problem, when the truth of the matter is the company has a core competency problem.
Yeah.
And they haven't figured that part out yet. Hey, welcome back to another edition of The Growth Engine with Ryan and Trice. Ryan, what's up, buddy?
Hi, Trice.
How's your day?
I am squeezing this episode, this topic, and we're going to try to nail this in one take. We're going to try to do this in one show, but this topic is huge. Like it's enormous. So I'll roll with it. Like let me introduce it. Let's dive right in and get after it.
Yeah.
So the topic today is identity crisis for the companies. And so the background on this would be that I get calls from companies that need help, and they start telling me a little bit about what's going on, or why they think they need to hire me. And it's very clear what most of these companies have going on. It kind of stems back to this thing that they don't even know how to articulate. It's they're having a company or corporate identity crisis. Like they don't know who they are. Some would say it's a branding identity crisis. Okay, I'll go with that.
Right.
But I don't even want to put it in the category of branding. Let's put marketing out of it. Like they just don't know who they are. So I'm going to tell you what happens with the ones I talk to is they start their businesses with this idea. They have a vision, right? And they do it, and they're successful. So, and that could be like 1 to 5 years of getting after it, getting clients, doing what they do best. And so this isn't something that happens right out of the gates. They don't even know this is around until they start running into these issues, right? And these issues, they kind of start coming into lingering revenues, like they stall out, and it can be at any stages. It could be, $850,000. It could be at 1.5 million. I've seen up to 30 to 40 million. Businesses stall out. They hit the ceiling. They don't know like what's going on. Why all of a sudden are they having this happen?
Yep.
And so I come in and I ask them some questions, and it becomes clear what's happened is as they grow their business, as they add customers, as those customers ask them to do new services or new things or sell them new products, they do it. And they start getting new people in that change processes or change beliefs about what they're doing for customers.
Right.
And this thing that you originally started doing evolved. Okay. In a positive way, it's evolved.
Yep.
But because at one point it was organized in the business owner's mind when they started it, where it's at now is it's very unorganized, and it's grown. It's like a tangled rope. It's a mess as all these new things has weaved and intertwined and caused knots in the business. And all of a sudden you have issues you didn't even see them creep up on you. And so when I come in, I see this with clarity, what's going on. but they're confused. They can't see it and they can't untangle this mess.
Yeah, this is super common, and you're right. You before the show, we were talking about this a little bit, and you're like, you said, "I'm going to love this topic," and you're right, I do. um, I had breakfast this morning and coffee with a consultant. He's guy I've known for a long time, and he's a former CMO, well versed, been in agency life before that. And guys worked with some huge brands, and he's older now, and he teaches at some universities as an adjunct, and does a lot of consulting. And we were talking about something very very similar to this today, and it's there's so many symptoms. What we're talking about here is core competencies, right? Like we haven't said it, but that's what it is. It's like, how do you know it's really your core competency, and how do you know it's something that's like a revenue generator that you added on because it was an easy revenue generator? Like some client asked you to sell them something. Hell yeah,
Okay.
sell them, right?
I'm not saying no to money. Yeah.
Right, but it might not be your forte per se, right? And later on, as your business grows and new people come in, just to your point, does that thing cause a distraction from what is your core competency? And I think there's a lot of opinions on this topic, and I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. I mean, so let's talk about the symptoms. I mean, like I would say, first and foremost, the business owners don't know this is going on. They can't see that they don't see this mess, right?
Yeah,
They
it's not a
feel
mess
it.
to them.
They feel it. Yeah. If
Yeah,
you asked them if they were organized, they would say yes. Right. So they start to have these symptoms pop up. And I notice it right away when I say, so what is it that you do? And they start rambling.
yes,
I mean, if I don't stop them, this is an hour long of them. I'm exaggerating, but it's a long time, right?
yeah,
They start talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, you can't just explain it in an elevator speech, or you can't just tell me what you do, like for customers. And it's exhausting. Then I say, like, who's your ideal customer?
yeah,
And they, again, well, it's this people and it's these people and it's these people and it's these people. And it's like that whole thing of if everybody's your customer, nobody's your customer.
yep,
If you do everything, if you start telling me everything you do, if you do everything, you do nothing because I can't remember what you do. And they're having slow growth because of this.
yeah,
They are very unfocused. They have slow growth. It's hard for them to get leads because they don't know what to shout in their marketing to the public or in their talk and their speak to the public. There is therefore nothing sexy about, I say, use that word sexy. There's nothing sexy about what they are offering or doing. And there's no
right,
passion behind 20 things you're listing.
yep,
You should be listing one thing or two things, but something that has a passion about, what you love doing for others, right?
mm-hmm.
And nobody wants it. Nobody wants what you have then because it's not sexy. You don't know for sure who and what, and you're presenting horribly. And so this is identity crisis, man. It's like you don't know these things with clarity. And so we got to solve that mess, right?
Yeah, yeah. Even I've worked for some mature companies that have had to address this, and even if you bundle a bunch of things that are revenue generators together because into a division, and okay, this is a division that focuses on these kinds of people at this phase, or these kinds of people at this phase, or your core business. Well, even when you do that, there's still got to be commonality here. Are you reaching the same customer bases but in different phases? Okay. Or is it the supply chain phase and you reach different customers and but you own some piece of the supply chain? You're like all the customers that are in this phase. Okay. I could see both of those. However, when it's mixed up, you're like, well, you don't really know who you are
Mm-hmm.
and who you serve. And you could have multiple customers, but really when you do it that way, and I'm looking at it as a marketer, obviously, you have a really difficult time articulating who you are because you can't say you serve a customer base and you can't say you serve a phase of the industry when, buying cycle. So what can you say? You're like, we do all these things for all these people. No, you don't. Not well. I
Mm-mm.
mean, there's
Well,
somebody kicking your ass in every one of those categories, is my guess, because you can't dominate
mhm,
unless you can create clarity in that.
absolutely. I mean, ultimately, they're just doing things that people in their industry do.
Yeah.
Nothing unique. There's no power behind it in the messaging or no passion behind the message.
Yep.
There's nothing there. And so what you said about, the owner and, articulating this stuff. If you go to them and say, hey, you have an identity crisis. You don't know who you are. What do you think I get back?
Yeah, they're going to be telling you bullshit. Like
They're
they're like, I know
mad.
exactly who we are. Like,
Exactly. Like it's like a
we're
threat
going to
to
fight
them.
you every way. Yeah,
I
exactly. It
mean,
is.
you're attacking their ego, you're attacking their hard work, you're attacking their people, their
Everything. Yeah,
organization.
you're
In
challenging
that
the
comment,
you're challenging them in the most core way, and they're like, whoa, 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 hold on, like
yeah,
this is a real uncomfortable space, and
yeah,
you're clearly not the right guy for us. Like you don't
right.
understand us. Like, no, I actually understand you perfectly. Like this is a problem, but how you go about addressing it and bringing it up is really critical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have to spend time with them researching, doing some discovery. I have to spend time with them to till I can say with clarity because I
yep,
need to know that for sure. But it's just very common that this is the issue that's underlying, and in some ways, it's a compliment. You need to think about this. It's a
yeah,
compliment. I respect anybody who's worked hard to grow a business. They have given a lot to make this happen, but it's almost that these tangled knots happen, that this rope gets tangled, and you've got all these problems. Is a sign that you're doing what everybody else does. You're growing a company. If you're stagnant and nothing's ever changing, you're not creating the knots. You're not creating the challenge or the problem.
yeah.
And companies will get things organized and straightened back out, and then in a few years it gets tangled again. That's why rebrandings happen. That's why whole new approaches happen.
That's why
Sometimes it's
companies
when
split out, into whole new
yes,
companies.
and
Absolutely,
or they go, this is I'm going to sell.
they
you
sell
know,
sell a piece of it. Yep.
yeah. I mean, so I think this is
And all
extremely
those are good answers. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, because what it does is it one, it puts people and accountability in a structure that says you are focused on one thing and growing that business for that one thing. And here it is. And you're your own company or even division if you can get all the other stuff aligned. But company, we'll say, because that's the easiest. Split
Mhm.
it completely out. And over here, you're the same way. You're a company wholly owned by us, but your sole focus is to talk to these people about these things, period. And then, hey, me, core business, I can focus on what it is we're supposed to be doing. And all three of us can brand accordingly and talk to customers correctly.
Mhm. You're bringing up
Because
another big mistake I see, which is they keep that under one roof and under one brand. And if you have grossly different target audiences um, under one roof, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying it's harder.
yeah,
It's harder, and in a lot of cases, it almost should be sub brands or something broken off with its own teams if your audience is drastically different. You do weaken your company for at least a short term while you're making those transitions.
sure,
You
sure.
you think probably you're strengthening it by having diversity. No, it actually hurts your messaging and it hurts that core competency you're talking about. It
Mhm.
very much puts it in question with your current customers. And so people will leave your company to go find somebody who already is being very bold about stating, you are our customer. And
Mhm.
their confidence in that is what pulls you in as a consumer. Like you like that they're shouting that we love you and we want to do business with you.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. I- Splitting off a company like that is not easy. Obviously, there's a lot of financial and tax and things related to that. There's a lot of brand related things to that, organizational things, operational things. So it's a big undertaking, but it really can help you simplify, frankly, in a lot of ways. And also, like down the road, you're like, hey, I want to get this all set, and then I'm going to sell that piece.
Yeah.
to help us focus more on our core business. Cool. Like we talk about growing all the time. What a great way to do it by differentiating very specifically, and then sell a piece of your business to help another part of your business grow.
Mhm.
Cool. You know.
Yeah. And without making, I don't want to make this an M&A topic at
Yeah.
all. Like,
Yeah.
but I will, but that is the reality that sometimes happens. Most of my work actually is getting back to home base. Like let's hone it back in. Let's bring the team back in. Let's rediscover who we are today, not who we were. Let's rediscover who we are today using your existing team, your existing customers, your existing processes and products and services. Let's do all the discovery. Let's bring it in and let's discover this together. And it's always there. I always tell people like you may have an identity crisis. You may not know how to talk about your company right now, but all the answers already are here. They lie within what
Yeah.
you're already doing. It's just sometimes it takes somebody coming from outside in to help you rediscover this. And it's very hard. This is a CEO thing or a business owner's thing, again, with an ego attack, where they think they should be able to do this and see these things and be able to reestablish their company with clear messaging. You're too close to it. You are just too close to it. You got to understand one of my main targets that I work with, one of my main clients are, guess who? They're agencies, digital marketing agencies is
Yeah.
the bulk of what I do. Why they do this all day long with customers. They do branding, they have exercises, workshops, they do the same things I do, but they
Yep.
can't see it because they're too close to it. And they hire me in, and within a few sessions, they're like, oh my gosh, yes, of course. And it's a relief because they feel that they have had this issue and they can't quite put their finger on what's going on. And so
Yeah.
when you can bring that home for them and help them, it really opens it up. But other symptoms that I see, Trice, are um, that the marketing doesn't work as much as it used to because the messaging isn't right anymore, or is it appealing? Isn't sexy because there's no passion behind what you're doing, right?
I wrote a note here because we talked about this a long time ago, and it came up today with my breakfast thing
Yeah.
about CMO tenure. And you're hitting on it. And this is one of the symptoms that people don't realize that they've got a culture, this kind of culture problem in their organization. Is CMO tenure at most companies is really, really, really short. The C-suite averages 5 to 8 years for private companies, and it's probably similar for publicly traded companies, but CMO tenure is like 24 to 36 months, and it's shortening quickly. And a lot of it comes down to this kind of a thing. People start to feel that they've got this crisis and the marketing isn't working because of it, or is it not always working as well, or it's confusing because they're trying to speak to multiple groups at the same time. And the company hasn't necessarily done a great job of delineating like who's what. Procter & Gamble is a great example of this, right? They've got 1 million divisions. They are extremely concise about what each of these groups is focused on, aeronautics, whatever, right? Each of those has their own unique branding and marketing, and they have to stay focused like that. Otherwise, they have this problem. And I think that's one of the symptoms a marketer would see is there's just a lot of cloudiness and not a lot of clarity in their marketing efforts. And it just never feels like they've nailed it. And therefore their CMO gets replaced and they hire the CEO, brings somebody new in to try to fix this problem. When the truth of the matter is the company has a core competency problem.
Yeah.
And they haven't figured that part out yet.
Yeah. Or they knew it at one point and it's changed and nobody saw it changing. The marketing stops working. The sales it's harder to get the leads in the sales. The sales are harder to pull in because your messaging isn't clear. It isn't effective. Isn't compelling. Your statements aren't compelling.
Yep.
That dull culture is what I wrote down. Like the cloudiness thing and all that leads to this really dull culture that is stagnant and nobody wants to be a part of it. And I always say, like, when this is solved, the result of this is this energy that comes from within. I don't even know where it comes from, but it's almost like this tingly vibration thing that happens in an organization when it's all right sized and aligned, where everybody knows what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how to talk about their company and what you're doing with excitement and with clarity. Um, that piece doesn't happen very often in businesses. It doesn't happen. It's a shame.
Yeah.
Um, and we're talking about companies, but if you think about you yourself, you out there, listener world, if you think
Yep.
about you yourself, you personally go through times like this.
100%.
You go through this as a solopreneur. You go through this as a person, that works for another company. You go through some identity crisis, sometimes undetermined, or you haven't quite named it that, but you're going through it. And the closer you understand to who you are as a person, um, and the closer that a company understands and can articulate who they are as a company, the more empowered and the more confident your people are, and the more that culture has all that electricity in it, man, that makes it really great place to work.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I think people and professionals go through this cycle as well, and really honing in on identifying. We've talked about personal brand here before. Honing in on that does give you that empowerment to really feel like I really know who I want to be, what brand it is I want to represent, why people would be interested in somebody with that type of brand. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? Strengths and weaknesses, whatever. Same for corporations. It's exactly the same process and methodology. It's just bigger. The culture is bigger. There's more people influencing it. But at a leadership level and at an ownership level, it's an incredibly interesting process, and really important to your business, because and will change over time, and we'll go through peaks and valleys and ebbs and flows and whatever. And you do have to feel it and focus on it and build it, and otherwise you meander, and just all your points. Revenue starts to meander, marketing, operational. You start to get conflicts of interest inside of organizations where they're sort of fighting for resources, or, like, no, those are my customers. No, those are my customers, whatever. Like, there's some of that stuff just starts to happen in politics, basically. And it's all comes back to one thing most times, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the clarity of this messaging and the target, because we went through the sphere of influence in one of our episodes,
Yeah.
and I think that becomes a messy thing as you expand your customer base. You start to lose identity of who your is, and if you have multiple customers, like, I get it, as you grow, and that's true, but then you have to break out your marketing appropriately into those different channels, and then your marketing challenge becomes, or your branding challenge becomes, something much greater. You may
Yeah.
have an overarching brand, but your
Mhm.
messaging is angled differently towards each of those segments.
Yeah.
But I do like businesses. If you ask me, like, the businesses that I think are really effective businesses are the ones that, you can say, yeah, our target audience is single mothers, who are working 40 hours to 50 hours a week. Like, they don't have the time to do this thing, or they are. Recently, I had a client. It was their top two targets were sales directors, right, and realtors. And they're both sales, kind of, right,
Yeah.
but to identify, one has more recurring revenue and higher purchasing. And so the power of that messaging, of saying, our top client, or the clients that we work the most with, are sales directors, VP of sales.
Yep.
We work well with them. We take orders from them every day, or we do work with them every single day, and we really understand their world. That is way powerful than saying we work with sales directors, realtors, this and this and this, and then be done with your message.
Yeah. I think the thing, that people struggle with in business when you go through that process, especially if you're a small business as you grow, the idea that my business can continue to grow even though my focus of people is getting narrower. And there's a real, like, gut instinct, like, that just feels wrong. Like,
Right.
I can't
Right.
possibly make more money by focusing narrowly.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
actually, that's not.
scary.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
I mean the fear of going backwards
Yeah.
is horrible. But when you do the research, and I've got a friend, Marilyn Page. Marilyn's great. She's a marketing researcher, and she's so good at this piece of it. And but if you do the research, it will show you you're leaving money on the table, and you could
100%.
actually focus your business and be way more efficient with your activities and with your execution of your teams and your processes.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
will. She could pull that out, and maybe research says it's not there, and you need to shift and change your business model.
Yeah.
But almost always that I ran across, they've barely gotten in their big toe in the water with a specific target audience, and they're already changing directions. And it's
Yeah.
like, why get good at one thing and delivering one thing to one customer really good before you go crazy and lose your mind? And
Yeah.
you'll find that you're in this mess with the rope tangled and trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah. What's funny to me in this situation is when you narrow, you get more powerful in your messaging of how you focus because you understand the industry or the people better than you could if you're trying to understand everything about every people or all industries or whatever. And that's a really powerful thing because then you bring a lot to the table when it comes to the client. The client says, "Oh shit, you really do know our business." Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the value chain for you. And here's how we serve your types of organization and here's the value proposition that we have. But not only that, but how do you grow business, right? You fundamentally offer a wider breadth of things to the same people, or you offer the one thing to a wider segment of people.
Right. Well
So
said.
if you can develop a great relationship with one type of person and then offer them all the things they need from your angle of the world, that's how you deepen your relationship with them. It becomes more painful for them to exit business with you because you've got your hands in a lot of different pockets that they have. Well, so this is what Google and Apple are fantastic at. You can't leave. The pain of change is too heavy. Got to change my phone, got to change my laptop.
Yep.
My cloud is different. Like my contacts are stored here. Like, that's just painful. And people don't want to go through it. And the reason is they have their hands in a lot of different of your pockets, basically. And business, that's a great way to develop a deep relationship. And I think that will help people understand phase one might be a little scary because you're like, I'm really going to just focus on this kind of person. And hey, there's only 1 million of those people in the United States. Okay, that's a lot of people, by the way. It's a lot of customers. But let's just say you're a huge organization and you're like, I'm afraid, but the truth of the matter is, what if there's 5 different things you can sell that person and you're only selling them one? Well, you need to grow into it here. And the deeper your relationship is with them, the better off you're going to be. Your value to them is better than it's ever been. And that hopefully will remove the scariness for people because there's just a ton of opportunity when you get to that place.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have to work with people to get them over that fear, over that piece of it. And it can take some it goes quickly, but most of them it takes like a while. I got to work on it, right?
Yeah.
I got to work on that idea and
They
concept.
got to noodle on it a little bit.
They do.
Yeah.
It's because of that scary part of it. So I will compare this and tell a little story to. I'm a part of a digital mastermind group, and I've been since I own my agency. I'm kind of grandfathered in, and in this group, there's over 50, usually somewhere around 70, 75 digital marketing agencies that are part of this group, and oftentimes I'm working with somebody in this group, and they are a digital marketing agency that is kind of like it's full service digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, when I hear it is like a death to an agency right now. It's because back when I started my agency in 2007, there wasn't nearly as many digital marketing agencies. We were just figuring out how to do this thing, how to do the work, how to charge for it, everything.
Yeah.
And there was very few of us. And because we did what we did, that in itself was under high demand. It was an expertise that people really wanted. It had that I want that factor we've talked about before in other episodes. But now there's a digital marketing agency on every corner, in every house, and every basement. Like there's one everywhere, right?
I'm in a house and you're in a basement. And that's literally true.
Literally, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I really work with these digital agencies on, can we get away from, and I help them find their voice, find themselves in this situation.
Yeah.
Because they're lost and they don't know it. And they say, no, I really truly want to be a full service digital agent. And I say, for who? Well, for anybody who needs us. No, or for a specific size of company. That's not niching. That's not. That is just doing what everybody else is doing. And guess what? The customer that you want, everybody else wants too.
Yeah.
And so
I actually watched this happen just recently. I have a friend that owns an agency, and when I first started working with them, they were my agency at one point. And when I first started working with them, they were a digital agency, and they did a lot of things really, really well. But they hadn't focused, they hadn't narrowed it down in scope of what services they offered. But they were small, so they hadn't broadened out to the full gamut of creative and digital from my perspective. They were growing into it, but they did a couple things really, really well, and those are the things that I wanted them for. Mm-hmm. And then they rebranded and to focus on analytics. Data and analytics. And I thought that was really smart. At the time, the industry was really, really focused on that. And now today it's really about attribution in the marketing space. And data and analytics was sort of the lead into that, in my opinion. But recently they rebranded and they refocused on, I think, healthcare specifically, mm-hmm. and narrowed their focus and their own niche, because that's a by the way, a huge niche for anybody in life sciences.
Yeah, healthcare. Niches within that niche. There's
yeah.
I'm consulting with a company right now, and healthcare is like a huge umbrella topic. Like there's 100 different niches within that niche, right?
Yeah. But I thought that was really smart, and I was like, the rebranding part sort of caught me by surprise. But I'm watching it from a distance, right? I'm just like online or, in the industry or whatever. And so I was like, I don't know if that's the right choice or not. Mm-hmm. That's not mine to make. That I'm not their customer and I'm not in their business, but you can respect the alignment mm-hmm. of saying and putting your foot in the sand and saying, this is the kind of customer we are serving, period. And our expertise will reinforce our ability to add value to those organizations. All right. That's exactly what we're talking about. It's like, you're really saying to the world, here we are, and this is what we do. And I'm sure it was scary to make that decision. But at the same time, because you're like, maybe there's some legacy clients that we're not going to work with anymore, or that might find their way out because they don't feel like we mm-hmm. align with them, even though we could still take care of them, because our focus is different. But that's a respectable.
You'll pick up far more clients the other direction by focusing than you'll lose on the back end.
Yeah. And, I probably would have just rolled out a new agency, like same building, same people, mm-hmm. new brand, 2 different companies. These people serve these people serve these, and done it that way. But that's just me, because I don't want to, like you, I don't want to let any business go. Mm-hmm. Like I want people to know I can serve them as a digital agency in all their capacity, but I also have a focus over here, but still, that's not great alignment. Mm-hmm. That's not maybe the best way to go about it, but that's my gut instinct. And it's very brave of them to take the steps they did. Mm-hmm. But it's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. So I want to give a shout out. I was talking about these digital agencies. There are plenty of these in this DMG group that have really figured out a horizontal or vertical or both, and they're doing very well. But one of the guys who did it early on, and I'm going to give him and his agency a shout out. His name is Cameron Medill. He's out of Portland, Oregon. He has an agency called Pixel Spoke, and it's been around for quite a while. But he started niching down into credit unions and became a digital ad agency or marketing agency for credit unions. They built websites for them. They do marketing programs and he's got a podcast. So what I would love about what they do is they have built their marketing services around it. But then by when you say expertise in an industry niche, that doesn't do justice. The word doesn't do its justice.
No.
It's what happens really when we say that expertise is the longer they're in it, the more they come up with secret formulas for things that work really well in that industry. They have solutions that others that just have like one or two credit unions haven't figured out, right? But then
Right.
they start creating programs around it that are really something that client wants or needs. And pretty soon those types of agencies become such a cool specialty agency where
Mm.
instead of just growing out the way that a traditional digital marketing agency would grow, where we're going to add social media people, we'll add web developers. Well, what happens is they start doing things like hiring, we're going to hire a B2B um, like a sales professional. And we're going to now offer training and sales enablement. And so not just sales fulfillment, but sales enablement. We're going to start really putting our energy behind the things that they are really needing to make the marketing work better, to get the results they're looking for. And like we're going to hire people to train their people. We're going to write best practices for their industry. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily marketing sometimes, but they
Yeah.
become the go-to place to get the things that they need and want. That's really what we're talking about is going into your own, creating things others have not, and it's your formulas. You are the source of the original source that the things that they want, they need that you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the best parts about doing something like this is you can do all the experimentation. You really can say we've tried a lot of things. These are the things we know that work, and take those to other people in the market. You're like, hey, look, if we focus on this industry and we really understand the industry, can speak to it and sell into it and understand our value to it and its own value to itself, and then you walk to another company that's doing something similar, they just got the advantage of you doing all that work you just did. Like that's huge opportunity for you to serve. Credit unions is a great example. That's a unique situation. They've got a base of people that are members, and they expect to be treated a little bit differently than they would be for the average bank. Cool. There's a ton of stuff you can do in there, and you can really experiment with your marketing from that perspective to get better at helping other credit unions. You can kind of become tried and true,
Mhm.
and that's really valuable. There's a ton of value in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great. That's a good
this
example.
guy, yeah, this cat's like super smart, and I respect him for what he's done and built. But the speed in which you build an agency or a business is lightning fast compared to trying it the other ways, where you're trying to catch too much. And
Yeah,
so this identity crisis thing is when somebody can take a look at what you've got and come in and make it make sense again, not just for the business owner. That is a huge part of it in the leadership,
sure.
but for everybody. I mean, the thank yous that you get from everybody in the company, even though you might not even be working with them. I mean, I've received emails from people inside the company that just like heard that I came in and helped, and they said, "Thank you for getting some of this aligned in our company. Like we now are focused again." And it's like, wow, okay, that's good payback. I love that. That feels good that I've been able to help. Um, but the bottom line is the symptoms are what you have to consider if you're a business owner out there that I'm talking about. If these symptoms are creeping in, you might not be as organized, or you might not have the vision honed in. You might not have these pieces that you think are tight. Uh,
Yeah.
One more piece I would add to that is I have a quiz that I have people take. It's a healthy brands quiz. The it's a healthy score. It gives you a score on your business to see how you're doing. And I have leadership teams go in and they take this when I first start working with them. And I want to get a measurement of where the team's at with what they understand about the business. And
Right.
yes, there's branding, there's core messaging, there's organization. All these pieces are it's only 20 questions, and all these things are in there. But it's funny. Guess who has the highest score and the best outlook of their company every time we do this?
The CEO.
Yeah, every time. Maybe it's like, I mean, and because they aren't looking at it from the angle of the other people. But the biggest issue isn't because they're blind and stupid or anything crazy like that. It's what's happening is in their mind, it's more organized and they have more understanding of their business and communication going on in their head than what everybody else has gotten.
Yeah.
They haven't unloaded what's in there to the team, and they can't possibly have done that as much as they've done it. They think about their business 24/7.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love the old adage here. It's like, um, if you're a CEO, no one working for you will think about or work in or be as passionate about your business as you will. And the expectation where you fail is the expectation that they should. And this is the fantastic example. You get a, not pie in the sky sort of view, but I'm sure a lot of these guys have very realistic views, but their optimism for an understanding of the business is completely unique. And they don't understand that other people don't see it the way they see it. And, you know, they might have clarity in this problem of crisis identity. They may think, well, this all fits together perfectly because we do it this way and we do this way and we do this way. When everyone else in the organization is like totally confusing, it's not clear at all. We're not serving the same people, whatever. And that it, and especially if they're fighting for resources, well, then it's, shared services time, human resources, IT, finance, marketing, people like that. You're fighting for time with those organizations in a lot of cases. And if you're the low man, you might get left out, and that's not good. And that's because of a lot of this crisis identity, because somebody in the organization is like, this is important and this is sort of important. Oh, well, the sort of important guy, not going to get shit. It's going to be 80-20. And that's hard. And this identity problem is why.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I know we're going to try to cut this episode a little bit short, but I think I want to like try to wrap up here with this thought that um, this is a plus. I said that before. It means that you've been doing stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
how this got here. Again, and I hear people say that, like, how did we get here? How did it get so messy? You were doing great stuff, man. Like, kudos to you. And you do have to do this in business, and it is normal, and
Yeah.
everybody goes through it. And you
Yes.
back up, and you reorganize, and you get ready for the next stage of growth.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's business ownership, and it's entrepreneurship, and it's exciting.
Yes. 100%. This is a part of the process. It's painful, but this is actually what growth looks like. You get to a place, you grew here very naturally, and you get to a place you're like, this is not working. This is why consultants have jobs right here. Because you're like, this doesn't feel like it's, we're on our sweet spot. Okay. Well, so you refocus, you adjust, you reorganize, you rebrand, you do all these things. And then you're like, okay, yeah, we all are on the same page. I really, really get it. This makes total sense to me. I can tell a customer this, or this customer's of this and this customer's of that, and there's alignment because of these things. Boom, done. So it's totally part of the process. And good for you, frankly, if you're at a place where you've got to address this for the first time, because it means you've grown and matured as an organization.
Amen. Amen. Yeah. So if you know, if you're having this issue in your own company, you see these symptoms we've talked about, and there's a bunch we haven't named, but if you see these symptoms, maybe forward this episode on to your business owner or CEO and share that, with him or her. And we appreciate if you shared, like it, and if you like it, we'll keep doing it. So that's all I have. Any final comments, Trice?
Nope. I think this is a great one, and I hope we help people kind of understand what that cloudiness looks like and why it looks the way it does. And yeah, send this to the CEOs, business owners. Put them in touch with Ryan, because this is the kind of stuff that we talk about all the time. And going through this process might be painful, but it will help.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next episode.